This episode's brought to you by The Public Domain Shop, a clothing brand inspired by classic literature and film. Use the code Wolff to get 10% off your next sweatshirt purchase.
The Smashing Machine was maybe the best experience I had at TIFF this year, not just because it's a good movie, but after seeing 3 other people shake hands and get a selfie with Benny Safdie of all people, I knew security wouldn't tackle me if I did the same. The movie follows 3 years in the life of Mark Kerr, played by Dwayne Johnson, one of the original UFC fighters in an era where MMA was still considered experimental, at least in the States. As we see how his recovery from drug addiction affects his girlfriend, Dawn Staples, played by Emily Blunt, his best friend and fellow competitor Mark Coleman, played by Darth Vader of all people, and overall changes the outlook on his life and career. So for the first act of The Smashing Machine, I was thinking to myself, this isn't a bad movie, but at the same time, the transition from up-and-coming fighter, niche superstar, drug addict, and then recovering addict all over the course of one section of the movie felt more rushed than most musical biopics with the same formula that I didn't really know what to make of the movie. Then it hit me that the crash and burn story we've seen a million times in movies like these to the point where these cliches might as well have their own bingo card wasn't actually the focus of the film. The usual story beats for a movie like this were the setup for the recovery process and the struggles one faces with sobriety being the focal point of the story. And from then on, the movie just kept getting so much better. When we see Mark living healthier and doing everything he can to maintain his sobriety, sometimes to a fault micromanaging those who are living unhealthy around him, it's uplifting to see, but we're reminded that the things that stress him in life, that probably led him to drug abuse in the first place, are still there, and even after learning how to stay clean, he hasn't figured out how to address everything else in life properly. And those personal struggles are brought to life perfectly by Dwayne Johnson, who, while maybe not 15 minutes worthy, deserved the standing ovation. The nicest thing I can say about his performance was that it never felt Oscar baity. Based on Benny Safdie making the film, I kind of figured going in that this wasn't going to be a usual Dwayne Johnson performance, and I'm not surprised at all that he can be a legit good actor, because there was a point where he had to make smaller budget stuff that wasn't great, but he was at least an actor, not a meme. That being said, what shocked me most about his role in this was just how nuanced he was. He's so soft-spoken in his line delivery in a way I've never seen from him, where even when he's angry about something, Mark Kerr always made a conscious decision not to yell or resort to name-calling, but still giving passive rants about his problems. If he thinks he's been pushed over the edge, then he'll throw or break something and yell on top of that. But even when he's yelling, his manner of speech is completely different from what we're used to with him. And the fact that Mark Kerr always tried to keep up this mild-mannered persona for better and for worse, Johnson really impressed me with how well he emulated that. Hell, there are scenes where he's filmed in either a profile shot, distorted mirror reflection, or completely from behind, and obviously the camera work brings a lot of emotion to these moments, but his body language and the few facial features we see of him are crucial for us feeling whatever pain he's going through. The movie doesn't attempt to explain or analyze where this repressed rage comes from, and at first that did kind of bug me, but like a lot of the biopics I compared this to before, the motives or backstories are almost the exact same. I actually grew on the idea of leaving his past and wherever his passion for fighting came from a complete mystery a lot more. The prosthetics and makeup on him in the first half didn't disguise the fact that it is still Dwayne Johnson, but it was enough to make him look different. The second half, he completely physically disappears to the point where there are scenes in the trailer where I couldn't recognize him. It's that good. And it goes without saying, he's perfectly believable in the MMA cage matches, which, I'll admit, the style that Mark Kerr and apparently Mark Coleman fight in that focuses more on wrestling and grappling as opposed to strikes and kicks, that's not really my taste. I recognize that grappling is more important in martial arts for self-defense, but I think I'm just spoiled at the fact that strikes and kicks just look cooler in cinema. But that being said, Benny Safdie did a good job recreating the style of camera work and either wide shot or ringside angles of octagon fights where if an audience member or the ref is in the way when they're KO'd, that's just how it goes. Even if they cut away on the more impactful hits during the close-ups, it's the sound effects that make each punch or takedown brutal. And looking at this story, Safdie's gritty 16mm handheld style makes his movies feel so much like a verite documentary that he was perfect for this film. Apparently this is the first 16mm handheld movie made for IMAX, and even in the very front row, the things you gotta do to go to a film festival, the style and substance go hand in hand. As for the sidecast, Safdie had this to say during the Q&A that pretty much sums it up.
Emily said it yesterday, I didn't even realize, she goes, you realize that you and I are the only actors in this movie. And I was like, that's actually true. You know, because everybody else who we cast was a real person. The guy at the amusement park was a guy that I saw going, as we were going to a barber shop, he was playing poker in this like underground poker spot right next door, and I just saw him in the back, and I'm like, oh my God, that guy. He's amazing.
Reading the Wikipedia page, I knew Kerr's old trainer was going to be in this, and if you didn't know who he was going in, you wouldn't have guessed he was playing himself, I'll admit that. Given his history with Kerr, he knows exactly what to say and how he would have said it back then. On the flip side, I recognized Brian Bader from something, I just didn't know what. I thought he was a legit real actor. It didn't occur to me until afterwards during the Q&A that it was fucking Darth Bader. I'm not a UFC guy, I wouldn't have known that for sure anyways, but still, that was legit shocking. And to be honest, I was already really impressed with how he's the typical best friend character with only a couple scenes of him being a husband and father outside of being Kerr's best friend, but he has such great chemistry with Johnson that the simplest conversations between them felt relatable. You believe that these guys have been friends for years and are conflicted at the possibility that they might have to fight each other in order to support their families. I can't believe I'm saying this, but Darth Bader actually kind of added layers to this role. He might have been my favorite side performance in the entire movie, and Emily Blunt is in it, so really think about that. But even though Emily Blunt does fantastic work as always, she has a great love-hate dynamic with Johnson where you can tell from a simple glance between the two, they should not be together. And it's the kind of toxic love where they have passive arguments and give each other the cold shoulder, but it's never an abusive relationship, and the few times where they have legit chemistry with each other makes you feel bad that this relationship wouldn't have worked. But I have to be honest, every time she popped up, as good of a performance Blunt gave, I was constantly asking myself, who are you? Why are you even here? What do you two see in each other? There's a 20 to 30 minute gap where we don't see her, and to be honest, one of the reasons I like that section a lot is because she wasn't there. I love Emily Blunt. I do not want to say that, but it's true. Towards the climax, there's an argument between Mark and Dawn that, without spoiling anything, tries to address the questions I had earlier that calls out Mark for being a bad boyfriend, and rightfully so. But then things got heated in a way that came completely out of nowhere, and what I said earlier about Mark Kerr's past not needing to be explained, hers most definitely did. Because her escalation felt completely random, and even though Mark Kerr was obviously the bigger issue in the relationship, in my opinion, there were things that she herself could have done better that aren't resolved on screen. Beyond that, The Smashing Machine is a movie I'll always cherish just for this memory alone. It's the rare film nowadays where everything from the performances, story, and true life stakes get better the more it progresses. Definitely see this on the biggest screen you can, and whatever you do, don't sit in the front row, it'll fuck your neck up. And with that, guys, thanks as always for watching. Let me know in the comments below if you've seen The Smashing Machine, what you thought of it. Be sure to stay tuned for more reviews, check me out on Patreon and buy me a coffee, and be sure to like and subscribe. Take care.